Urban Meyer has dominated the news recently after former ESPN reporter Brett McMurphy called Urban Meyer out after Big Ten media days, where Meyer denied he had any knowledge of domestic violence allegations surrounding former Ohio State coach Zach Smith. According to McMurphy, Smith's ex-wife Courtney says she shared her situation with Urban Meyer's wife Shelley. Text messages were shared between other Ohio State football coaches' wives as well. On November 5th, 2015, a conversation between Courtney and Lindsay Voltellini, the wife of Brian Voltellini, who is Ohio State's director of football operations. And he's also been on Urban Meyer's staff for 15 years. The exchange showed that Meyer likely knew about the domestic violence issue. So, we know based on the text that Meyer most likely knew after text between Voltellini and Courtney in 2015. Now, Urban Meyer has been placed on administrative leave. In a press release, Ohio State said it's, quote, conducting an investigation into these allegations. Ryan Day, the team's offensive coordinator, will serve as the acting head coach. This decision is surprising to me and maybe others after the school and coaches backed Greg Schiano during the crazy carousel of the Tennessee coaching search, when Tennessee was looking for a coach and considered Greg Schiano, but Tennessee fans didn't want Greg Schiano. So then all of the Ohio State fans and that community backed Greg Schiano. So now you would think after that they would put Greg Schiano in the head coaching position, but I'll get to that in a second. Meyer also released a statement saying, Athletic Director Gene Smith and I have agreed that being on leave during this inquiry will facilitate its completion. This allows the team to conduct training camp with minimal distraction. I eagerly look forward to the resolution of this matter. At Big Ten Media Days last week, Meyer acknowledged he was aware of a 2009 incident involving Smith and his then-wife when Meyer was the head coach of Florida and Smith was a staff intern. But he was quick to deny any knowledge about an incident from 2015. This text message I'm about to read you is an exchange that makes me think Urban Meyer definitely knew about this situation. It's between Courtney and Lindsay Voltellini. Courtney said, Zach's trying to make me look crazy because that's what Shelley is saying he's doing. Lindsay said, Urban Meyer just said Zach denied everything. Courtney Smith then replied with, I hope Urban is smarter than that. Lindsay replied with, Urban doesn't know what to think. Courtney said, I don't really care, you know. And then Lindsay finally replied with, yeah, don't worry about Herb. In an interview with Stadium, Courtney gave us more details about the situation, saying, quote, in 2015, I spoke to Shelley. I sent her some pictures. I spoke to her on the phone, she said. Shelley said she was going to have to tell Urban. I said, that's fine, you should tell Urban. We can't have somebody like this coaching young men. She would reach out to me and ask me how I'm doing, tell me she's worried and that if I need anything, that she was there, Courtney said. When somebody is crying out for help, I believe the coach and the coach's wives have a duty. They have a duty to do something, to help. Courtney Smith said she believes Urban was aware of the abuse. I hope in the future he never turns his head away again. I know Shelley did everything she could. I firmly believe that. She was very supportive. She never made me feel uncomfortable. She never made me feel like I was a threat by telling her these things, Smith said. And after hearing all that, there's only one thing I believe Ohio State can do, and that's fire Urban Meyer and fire any other coach that knew about this matter and that didn't report it. Zach Smith definitely doesn't deserve a job, not with Ohio State or anybody. In my opinion, he deserves to be in jail, and Urban Meyer deserves to be unemployed. He had to know about the domestic violence. There's no doubt about it. I definitely believe he knew, and he didn't say anything about it. You can't tell me for at least 4 years he sat down with his wife at night and talked to her, and this was never brought up. He said him and his wife like to talk about people. Well, Courtney Smith's a person, right? She's a woman, yes. If you talk about people, you had to bring her up. She's a friend of yours. So do you just not talk about your friends or what's happening in their lives? If your friend is being physically abused, do you just not talk about it? I'm not married, so I don't know what those conversations feel like. I don't know what happens in those conversations, but I feel like that's something that would come up. You can't tell me that he didn't know he has to go. And luckily for Ohio State, there's a clause in Urban Meyer's contract where he is required to report any Title IX incident violations. And if the school fires Meyer without cause, they're still going to owe him the $38 million left on his contract. But if they can prove that there was an issue here, that he didn't report the Title IX incident, if they can prove that he didn't do that and they fire him, they can owe him nothing. So why hasn't he been fired yet? I feel like they were trying to figure out a way how they could not pay the full buyout if they fire him. Here's how you don't pay it. Now, really all they have to do is prove it, and they have the text messages here to prove it. Put him on the stand, take him to court, make him tell the truth. I guarantee you he knew it. He has to go. He cannot coach college football no longer. Zach Smith cannot coach college football no longer. We cannot have a guy in there that physically abuses his wife coaching these young kids. We cannot have a guy that knows about it teaching these young kids, coaching these young kids. These kids need a role model to coach them, and these guys are not the role models that these players need.